December 2025. Vladimir Putin just threw Trump's peace deal in the trash, claiming Kyiv had no leverage left to negotiate. Ukraine's answer isn't a counteroffer. It is a lone MiG-29 sent to turn a $2 billion dam into an early Christmas present. He wanted more land. He is about to get a crater. 4 hours. The Kama River, deep in the Perm region. Outside, the Russian winter is biting at -18 degrees Fahrenheit, enough to snap cold steel. But skimming just 190 feet above the black water is a machine running red hot. It is an upgraded MiG-29M. Its twin RD-33 engines are burning fuel to generate 18,300 pounds of thrust each, pushing the airframe at nearly 600 miles per hour. Inside the cockpit, the pilot is drenched in sweat despite the freezing altitude. He is wrestling a 20-ton beast through the pitch-black darkness, fighting the urge to pull up as the radar altimeter screams warnings in his ear. On his heads-up display, the target glows red, the Kama Hydroelectric Dam. This is the 1,000-megawatt heart of the Ural military industry, a strategic asset worth $2 billion. Protecting this prize is a ring of steel. 3 Pantsir S2 batteries are parked directly on the dam's crest, backed by a Buk M3 battalion scanning the skies 20 miles out. On paper, flying a $30 million jet into this meat grinder is suicide, but Ghost is executing a tactic called Phantom Cascade. He is using the sharp, winding bends of the river canyon and the heavy fog rising from the 1,300 square mile reservoir as a natural cloaking device. To the Russian radars, he isn't a threat. He is just a ghost signal merging with the river mist. 04:11 a.m. local time. The MiG-29M is screaming down the Kama River Valley at exactly 190 feet above the water, pinning the airspeed indicator at 670 miles per hour. At this altitude, the margin for error isn't measured in feet, it is measured in milliseconds. If the pilot blinks, he hits the water. Ghost isn't flying this jet with his hands anymore. He is flying it with a piece of Ukrainian code. He has engaged the TERCOM system, terrain contour matching coupled with a custom AI patch. Every 0.4 seconds, the jet's nose radar maps the freezing riverbank ahead, treating the canyon walls like the boundaries of a video game. The flight computer automatically twitches the control surfaces by just 3 to 5 degrees, snapping the 20-ton fighter around the river's sharp 180-degree bends like a rally car drifting on ice. Inside the cockpit, the environment is brutal. Outside, the Russian winter is a bone-chilling -18 degrees Fahrenheit. Inside, the environmental control system has surrendered to the heat generated by the avionics and the pilot's own body. It is 105 degrees of suffocating heat. Sweat pours down Ghost's temples, pooling in the seal of his oxygen mask, while the G-Shock watch on his wrist flashes a warning, 158 beats per minute. The fog density suddenly spikes, dropping visibility to less than 200 feet. A nasty 18-knot crosswind from the left tries to shove the airframe into the canyon wall. A human pilot would panic and pull up, exposing the jet to radar. But the AI doesn't feel fear. It calculates the drift, applies a 2.3-degree correction, and forces the nose down, keeping the jet locked in the phantom corridor. Ghost takes his hands off the stick and lets the machine breathe. He is surfing a tunnel of fog, invisible to the world, trusting his life to the math. 04:30 a.m. High atop the concrete crest of the Kama Dam, the Russian air defense network wakes up. Pantsir S2 Unit Number 312, a $20 million mobile fortress designed to kill anything that flies, suddenly screams an alarm. The operator's radar screen lights up with a nightmare scenario. A red dot appears at the very bottom of the scope, moving at nearly the speed of sound, but it is flying at a suicidal altitude of just 190 feet. To the digital brain of the Russian radar, this shouldn't be possible. The target flickers like a broken light bulb, appearing for 1 second, then vanishing into the noise of the riverbank, then reappearing a mile closer. It is playing a deadly game of peekaboo. Panic takes over inside the control cabin. The system cannot get a solid lock, so the Russian commander chooses brute force. The Pantsir's turret spins violently toward the river mist, and 4 hypersonic missiles tear off the rails, trailing fire into the fog. They accelerate to Mach 4 instantly, hunting for the heat source. But physics is on the pilot's side. 2.8 seconds after launch, the MiG ducks behind a sharp bend in the river canyon. Deprived of a target, the Russian missiles lose the scent. Confused and blind, they pitch straight up into the air and detonate harmlessly in the empty sky, hitting nothing but clouds. 20 miles away, the heavy artillery, a Buck M3 battalion, is completely useless. Its massive radar is sweeping the horizon, but it cannot see through solid rock. The steep granite cliffs of the Kama River act as a natural wall, completely blocking the line of sight. The Russians know something is coming, but their billion-dollar technology is being defeated by a simple canyon wall and a pilot with nerves of steel. On paper, the Pantsir S2 is a beast. Its tracking radar can lock onto a target 22 miles away, but like all predators, it has a blind spot. It is designed to kill things in the sky, not things skimming the dirt. Here is the brutal geometry of the situation. The Pantsir is sitting high up on the dam. Ghost is flying down in the river valley at 190 feet. At a distance of 17 miles, the curvature of the Earth creates a physical shadow. The MiG is flying exactly 30 feet below the radar horizon. The radar beams are shooting straight out in a line, passing harmlessly over the top of the jet's canopy. Add in the weather. The dense fog and heavy water vapor rising from the reservoir act like a sponge for radio waves, soaking up 80% of the radar energy that might manage to bounce back. To the Russian operator, his sophisticated display looks like a TV tuned to a dead channel. He is trying to spot a gray jet flying against gray water through a gray fog. Inside the cockpit, Ghost knows he is winning the physics battle. The radar warning receiver in his helmet, which usually screams when a lock is detected, is chirping sporadically, confused but not terrified. A cold, grim smile spreads beneath his oxygen mask. He whispers to himself, the adrenaline making his voice shake just a little. "Thanks for parking on the high ground, boys. It gives you a great view of the sunset, but it makes you blind to the sharks swimming in the water." He checks the distance. The radar shadow won't last forever. In a few seconds, he has to pop up and reveal himself to the world. The free ride is over. 4:50 a.m., 42 seconds before the drop. The free ride comes to a violent end. Intelligence missed a spot. A second Pantsir S2 unit, hidden deep in the brush on the opposite riverbank, stops relying on radar and goes old school. The gunner looks out the window, spots the exhaust plume, and pulls the manual trigger. Twin cannons unleash a stream of 30mm high explosive rounds at a rate of 5,000 shots per minute. The fog suddenly lights up with red tracers swarming around the cockpit like angry fireflies. Ghost slams the stick left to jink, but physics is unforgiving. A single shell connects with the port wing. The impact shudders through the titanium airframe like a car crash at highway speeds. The jet lurches violently as 11% of its lift evaporates in a microsecond. The cockpit floods with the terrified red glow of the master caution light, and the warning tone screams in his ear. The damage report is instant and catastrophic. The secondary hydraulic system bleeds out its pressure. The control stick, which milliseconds ago felt like a precision instrument, suddenly turns into a dead weight. Ghost is no longer flying a computer, he is wrestling 20 tons of dead metal using a mechanical backup linkage. It takes both hands and every ounce of strength in his upper body just to keep the nose level. The MiG is bucking like a wild bronco trying to throw its rider, fighting him for every inch of altitude. But he can't turn back, he is too close. With 15 seconds left, Ghost decides to gamble everything on a maneuver that punishes the human body even when the machine is healthy. He slams the throttles forward past the detent, engaging full afterburners. The engines roar, the thrust jumping from 18,300 pounds to a staggering 24,400 pounds in a heartbeat. He yanks the heavy stick back with everything he has left. The nose pitches up to a near vertical 72 degrees. Gravity strikes back with a vengeance. 9.1 Gs crush Ghost into his ejection seat. His body now weighs nearly 10 times its normal mass. The blood drains from his head, rushing into his legs despite his G-suit inflating to crush his thighs. His vision tunnels down to a pinprick the size of a straw. He is on the verge of G-lock, gravity-induced loss of consciousness. But his right eye remains glued to the helmet-mounted sight, locking the laser onto the 4 main turbine housings below. At the apex of the climb, 4,200 feet above the dam, he hits the release button. The jet jumps as it sheds 2,000 pounds of ordnance. 4 AASM Hammer 500-pound guided bombs detach from the wings. At the exact same split second, 2 MALD miniature decoys shoot out ahead of them. The Russian radar, panicked by the sudden appearance of 6 targets, swallows the bait whole. The Pantsir fires its last 12 missiles at the decoys, wasting its ammunition on flying trash cans while the real bombs glide silently past. Ghost doesn't wait to watch. He slams the stick forward, rolling the MiG inverted and diving straight toward the river at a suicidal 68-degree angle. Gravity aids the descent and the airspeed indicator spins past the sound barrier. The sonic boom hits the ground like a physical hammer. The shockwave is so intense it shatters the reinforced glass of the Pantsir's command vehicle on the dam, leaving the Russian crew clutching their bleeding ears, disoriented and stunned by the thunderclap. 2 seconds before impact, Ghost pulls out of the dive at treetop level. The jet screams over the water at 70 feet, the wingtip actually slicing through the river spray. He dumps 10 gallons of fuel from a ruptured tank, leaving a rainbow slick on the black water, but the engines are still turning. He is alive. But behind him, the bombs are still falling. 10 seconds to impact. Ghost doesn't look back. He buries the throttle, demanding everything the remaining fuel pumps can deliver. The damaged port wing screams in protest, vibrating violently against the airflow, but he forces the jet around the 11th bend of the Kama River. He disappears into the fog bank like a phantom returning to the graveyard, leaving nothing behind but the smell of burnt kerosene and a shattered sonic boom. High above the dam, the 4 AASM Hammers stop gliding. Their internal solid rocket boosters ignite with a flash. They don't just fall anymore, they accelerate. Gravity is just a suggestion now. They transform into 4 kinetic spears traveling at 800 miles per hour, pointed straight at the concrete heart of the Russian energy grid. On the crest of the dam, the panic is absolute. The sophisticated radar screens are useless against vertical threats moving this fast. It is now a visual fight, and the Russians are losing. Soldiers who were smoking cigarettes and joking 5 minutes ago are now scattering like ants on a kicked hill. A sergeant screams over the roar of the spillway, pointing a trembling finger at the sky, realizing that the dark shapes growing larger aren't birds. "Water! The water is rising!" he yells, but his voice is swallowed by the terrifying sound tearing through the valley. It isn't a whistle. It is the sound of the air itself being ripped open. The guidance camera on the lead bomb zooms in, fixing its digital crosshair on the roof of turbine number 3. The time for prayers is over. The sky has fallen. At 5 a.m., the first AASM Hammer strikes the roof of turbine hall number 3 at 800 miles per hour. It doesn't detonate on impact. That would be a waste of energy. Instead, the delay fuse waits exactly 18 milliseconds. Just enough time for the hardened steel casing to punch through the reinforced concrete roof and bury itself deep inside the generator housing. Then the 200-pound tritonal warhead wakes up. The explosion creates an overpressure wave of 300 pounds per square inch. Inside the confined space of the turbine hall, the concrete walls don't crack. They turn into high-velocity dust. A fireball burning at 2,800 degrees Fahrenheit vaporizes the hydraulic fluid lines instantly. But the bomb is just the match. The water is the dynamite. With the turbine casing shattered, the Kama reservoir, holding back millions of tons of pressure, finds a way out. A jet of water pressurized to 1,000 psi erupts from the breach. It hits the remaining 3 turbines like a liquid sledgehammer, snapping steel drive shafts as thick as tree trunks. In 14 seconds, the dominoes fall. The structural integrity of the generator hall collapses and the river takes over. A mini tsunami, 40 feet high, surges over the crest of the dam. This is the moment of ultimate irony for the Russian air defense crews. The 2 Pantsir S2 units parked on the spillway, machines designed to fight supersonic jets, are suddenly fighting hydrodynamics. They lose. The rushing wall of water sweeps $20 million of high-tech radar equipment and 87 Russian soldiers off the concrete lip and hurls them into the freezing gorge below. The drone killer just became the world's most expensive submarine. 35 kilometers away, the Buck M3 radar operator sees a massive column of water rise on his screen, interfering with his signal. Then, the entire power grid for the Perm region blinks out. His screen goes black. Let's look at the damage report. It is catastrophic. 78% of the dam's power generation capacity is gone. 1,000 megawatts of electricity, which was feeding the tank factories of the Urals, has vanished from the grid instantly. Estimates put the repair bill at between $1.6 and $2 billion, with a timeline of at least 2 years. And on the Ukrainian side, one MiG-29 with a damaged wing and a very shaken pilot. Ghost nurses his crippled jet back to a reserve airfield in western Ukraine, executing a masterful single-engine landing on a dark runway. He walks away with a sore neck and a story that will be told in bars for the next century. Now, I want to hear from you. Put yourself in that cockpit. You have 5 seconds, your wing is shot, and you are pulling 9 Gs. What is your escape plan? Do you dive for the river or try to climb into the clouds? Let me know in the comments below. I'll pick the 3 best tactical plans and analyze them in the next video. Smash that like button if you enjoyed seeing physics humble a dictator.